1. Lost in the woods. I was hiking in the woods when I found an old, abandoned cabin. As I stepped inside, my phone's battery died and the door slammed shut behind me. 2. Mirror glance. One night, I glanced in the mirror and saw someone standing behind me. When I turned around, there was no one there, but a cold chill ran down my spine. 3. Sleep paralysis. I woke up in the middle of the night, unable to move or scream, and saw a dark figure standing at the foot of my bed. It whispered my name before disappearing as I regained control of my body. 4. Whispers in the wind. I was alone in the park at dusk when I heard whispers in the wind calling my name. I quickly left, but the feeling of being watched lingered long after. 5. Forgotten doll. I found an old doll in the attic with my grandmother's handwriting on a note that read, "Do not play with her." That night, I heard giggling and footsteps coming from the attic. 6. Mysterious phone call. My phone rang in the middle of the night, and when I answered, a voice whispered, "I'm watching you." The number was untraceable, and the calls continued for weeks. 7. Phantom footsteps. Every night at 3 a.m., I heard footsteps in the hallway outside my bedroom. When I finally gathered the courage to look, there was no one there, but the footsteps never stopped. 8. The basement. I always felt uneasy about our basement, but when I went down to grab some supplies, I found a note in my handwriting that said, "Don't come down here again." I never went back. 9. Disappearing. Shadow. While reading late at night, I saw a shadow move across the wall even though I was alone. It disappeared when I turned on the light, but the feeling of being watched remained. 10. Creepy texts. I started receiving texts from an unknown number, describing what I was wearing and doing in real time. No matter how much I changed my number, the texts always found me. 11. The locked room. My new house had a locked room the landlord warned me never to enter. One night, I heard scratching and faint cries from behind the door. 12. Old photo. I found an old photo of my family with a stranger in the background who had no face. My parents claimed not to recognize the person and seemed genuinely frightened by the photo. 13. Cold touch. I felt a cold hand grip my ankle as I was falling asleep. When I turned on the light, there was no one there, but the handprint remained. 14. The figure in the corner. I often saw a shadowy figure standing in the corner of my room at night. It disappeared whenever I turned on the light, but I always felt its presence. 15. Stranger in the house. I came home to find all my furniture rearranged and a message on my mirror that read, "Welcome home." The police never found any signs of a break-in. 16. Haunted toy. My child's toy started talking on its own, even when its batteries were removed. It kept repeating, "Come play with me," in a sinister voice. 17. Unknown child. A little girl knocked on my door, asking for her parents. When I turned to get my phone, she vanished without a trace. 18. Eerie photo. I took a photo with friends, but when I looked at it later, there was a dark figure standing behind us that no one remembered seeing. 19. The cries. I moved into a new apartment and heard cries of a baby coming from the walls. The landlord told me no babies had ever lived in the building. 20. The stalker. I noticed a man following me every day on my way to work. When I finally confronted him, he simply said, "I'm always watching," and disappeared. 21. Unseen. Roommate. I kept finding things moved around my apartment and food missing. One night,
I woke up to see a figure standing at the foot of my bed. 22. Locked in the car. I was driving late at night when my car locked itself, and a cold mist filled the interior. I couldn't see anything, but I heard breathing next to me. 23. The graveyard shift. While working the night shift at a hospital, I saw a patient who had died earlier that day walking the halls. He vanished before I could call for help. 24. Ghostly encounter. I rented an old
House for the summer and started seeing a woman in old-fashioned clothes standing by my bed every night. She never moved or spoke, just stared. 25. The message. I found a message written in condensation on my bathroom mirror that said, "Get out now." I was alone in the house, and the doors were locked. 26. Haunted forest. I went camping in a forest known for ghost sightings and woke up to find my tent surrounded by footprints. I left immediately and never went back. 27. The old barn. Exploring an old barn, I found a journal describing a gruesome murder that had taken place there. The final entry was dated the same day I visited. 28. The crying baby. I heard a baby crying outside my window every night at the same time. When I finally looked, there was nothing but an empty crib left on my porch. 29. Mysterious knock. I heard knocking on my door at 3 a.m., but when I checked, no one was there. The knocking continued every night for a week. 30. The vanishing neighbor. My neighbor, who I saw daily, suddenly disappeared without a trace. When I asked around, everyone insisted no one had lived there for years. 31. Old hospital. I was exploring an abandoned hospital and heard faint whispers and footsteps echoing through the halls. The sound of a child's laughter followed me until I left. 32. The locket. I found an old locket in my backyard with a photo of a woman I didn't recognize. That night, I dreamed of her, and she told me to bury it again. 33. Footsteps in the attic. I heard footsteps and dragging noises in my attic every night. When I finally checked, I found old, dusty toys and a child's handprint on the wall. 34. Phantom hand. I felt a hand grip my shoulder while I was alone at home. There was no one there, but I could see the imprint of fingers on my skin. 35. The abandoned house. I went into an abandoned house on a dare and found fresh food on the table and a fire burning in the fireplace. The house had been abandoned for decades. 36. Whispering voices. Every night, I heard whispering voices coming from the vents. No matter how much I searched, I could never find the source. 37. The wrong reflection. I glanced at my reflection in the window and saw myself smiling back, even though I wasn't. My reflection winked before returning to normal. 38. The night visitor. I woke up to see a dark figure standing by my bed, watching me. It vanished when I turned on the light, but I still felt its presence. 39. The forgotten room. I discovered a hidden room behind a wall in my basement, filled with old, dusty furniture and children's drawings. The drawings depicted scenes of horror and despair. 40. The warning. I received a letter with no return address that read, "Leave now, or you'll regret it." The next day, my house was broken into, but nothing was taken.